As for the Ukrainian Renaissance, it arose after the October uprising, after the civil war, when many Ukrainian creative figures, people, writers, intellectuals believed that they could express their understanding, their vision of the development of Ukraine. It should be especially noted that most writers believed that they could create freely. For example, in October 1925, there were about 5,000 writers in Ukraine. Among them were representatives of different literary schools and trends, neoclassicists, futurists, vanguardists, impressionists, and those who did not follow any canons. They believed in Ukrainization, which was a component of the so-called indigenization policy held by the Russian Federation, which provided for the promotion and introduction of elements of the Ukrainian language and culture in various spheres of public life. In fact, all those measures turned out to be a kind of a litmus test to identify all those who supported the so-called bourgeois nationalism, Ukrainian nationalism, or more precisely, Ukraine. It was a tragedy of Ukrainian literature, Ukrainian culture, when 265 representatives of the Ukrainian intelligentsia were executed in one day by the decision of non-judicial bodies. Actually, they were the cream of the nation. That is, free-thinking, critical-thinking people were not needed by the Soviet authorities. And the task of the Soviet government was to bring up a new socialist unity, Soviet people, where there was no place for original Ukrainian culture. There was only pseudo-folk representation of our culture, where Ukrainians were allowed to be only funny chochols dancing in vishvankas and sharovaris. Independent, intellectual, artistic thought was out of the question. It's not the first time that Ukraine has faced hard times like these. It is worth noting that Ukrainian culture was suppressed not for the first time. It is enough to recall the infamous Valuev Edict and Ems Edict, when it was forbidden to write, read and think in Ukrainian, and the brightest representatives of our culture were forced to publish their works abroad with the money of patrons. It was necessary to use any means so that independent, free Ukrainian thought had the right to exist and could reach not only Ukrainians, but also to the general public abroad.